Seasons, greetings, and happy holidays. My name is Ben, and welcome back to the bench for another episode of our 12 Sprues of Kit-mas. As you can hear from my voice, I'm not quite back 100%. Still a little sick. However, we are back on to build day number 9. Let's go ahead and grab the box, and we'll check it out. As you can see, the first row is done, second row is done. We're moving on to the third and last row with build day number 9 here on the far side. So far, the order has been awesome. So let's go ahead and punch on through here. Build day number 9 and check it out, see what we've got in store for us. So let's go ahead and pull out that label. The girlfriend has done a great job so far, so let's see what she gave us for build day number 9, and it looks like, oh, okay. She's gone ahead and chosen the BF110E, the tropical version by Airframe 1/72 scale. I don't know how this kit's going to build up, but I'm excited to go ahead and find out. One of the hardest things is obviously going to be that glazing on top. There are so many framing and whatnot we have to go ahead and mask. But other than that, though, everything else looks to be decent. I've read online that this kit has a few troubled areas, but I think if we just stick to it, we should be able to make it through. So let's jump into our first time lapse right away, and we're going to jump into the cockpit. And the cockpit is basically barren of any sort of details. So we're going to go ahead and add in some scratch built details. We're going to add in some side consoles. We're going to add in some floor structure. We're just going to add in whatever we can to make it look a little bit more lived in, to be a little bit more accurate. Though honestly, it's not going to be 100% accurate. It'll probably be more along the lines of artistically representative of a 110. But you know what? We're going to still jump in there. We're going to add in some parts. Probably shouldn't do this on a 12 Sprues episode, but you know what? There is just so little detail in there, and you can actually see where the wings come into the fuselage, and I don't really want to have to worry about that. So we're going to go ahead, jump in there with our first time lapse. We're going to do some scratching. We're going to figure out what we need to add in to make it look a little bit better, and then get on to some basic assembly of the internals. So let's get in there, guys. Let's get this party started. Let's have some fun. Alright, so that actually went decently well. I went ahead and went through my spares box, found a ton of older parts. I looked for instrument panels, side consoles, radios, anything I could go ahead and source out, trim down, cut up, whatever I could do to add in some extra side consoles, some detailing. Of course, I used some thin styrene strips for some structural detailing on the bottom floor of the rear compartment, and I think that looks okay. And I used some plastic card to go ahead and extend those sidewalls so I'd have a place to mount the equipment. So yeah, so far so good. I like how it's turned out. I like all the different little dials and switches and whatnot. There's not a lot of really accurate detail in there, but it's good enough for what we've got here. And I think it's a nice artistic representation of the rear portion of a 110. Luckily though, I did have a couple of books on building the BF-110. One of them was the Offspring modeling series, and that book has come in clutch here because I've been able to look at that, look at what other people have done, and use that as inspiration to do something here in 1/72 scale. Is this accurate? No. Are there components missing? Yes, very much so. But I've been able to go ahead and grab parts like landing gear struts from a Focke-Wulf. I went ahead and trimmed those down and made the gun breeches for the 20mm cannons. I took instrument panels and I chopped off front areas and side areas and mounted them up on the sides. So I just added whatever I could to make it look a little bit more lived in and to give it some extra interest. And I think for what it is, it's not too bad. But we're going to go ahead and move on now because we're getting into painting, and that is the next big hurdle. So let's jump back into a time lapse. We're going to go through the whole cockpit and we're going to paint everything up. Now I'm going to go ahead and stray a little bit from the instructions here. I'm not going to go with the dark gray. I'm going to go with the lighter RLM02 because this is an E version, and the E version, as far as my references have told me, came in right as they were kind of transitioning from RLM02 to the darker RLM gray. So we're going to go ahead and go with the early 02. We're going to prime everything. We're going to paint everything with our Vallejo color, come in, do a little detail painting, do a little bit of washes with some panel line accents, and then we're going to go ahead and build everything up, close up the fuselage, and we're good to go. So back in the time lapse, lots more to do. Let's get to some painting. All right, everybody, so we are back and we are moving on now with construction. And as you can see here, our wings are together. It took a lot of clamping to get these wings to stay down, but we are good. And now we're going to go ahead and mount the fuselage to the wings. Now I've kind of come off book a little bit because they had you initially in the instructions mount the fuselage down to the lower portion of the wing first, and then mount the upper portions of the wings on top. But no matter how much I did that, I couldn't get them to fit. So instead I've decided to go ahead and just cut off the flanges on the fuselage, open up the area just a little bit more, and glue them more traditionally, where the fuselage drops in between the wings and then just lock it into place and glue it together. I can't say this is any easier necessarily, but the fit is better. So we're going to have to come in and we're going to have to trim off quite a bit of extra plastic along the fuselage wing root, just so that we don't push those wings too much out of shape. And once we have that all straightened out, we should be good to go. So we're going to move on to our next time lapse. And since I have mostly everything painted and sealed together, we need to move on with the rest of the basic construction. So we need the rear tail on, we need the rear vertical stabilizers on, we need to go ahead and attach the wings to the fuselage fuselage, add in the nose, and then add in the landing gears, build up the drop tanks, get all that good stuff set up ready to go. Once that is good, we can come in and prime, and then we're going to pre-shade, but I'm not going to do my traditional just trace panel lines. We're going to come in and do a marbling coat instead, because these panel lines are really out of scale, too thick and too deep. So I don't necessarily want to add even more attention to them just yet. So we're just going to go ahead and try a marbling coat. Once that's all good though, we're going to come back in with our top colors. We've got our RLM colors for the desert up top and the blue surface underneath. So yeah, I think we'll be pretty decent with that. And then of course a little bit of detail painting here and we should be good to go. So let's get back in there. Let's get this all nicely assembled, get some painting done on it, and let's seal it up, get ready for decals. Well guys, we are back, and I gotta tell you, this kit started out a little bit on a rough side of things, and it's come together decently here, and I'm actually pretty happy with how it's looking. It's not the best model I've ever built, but we're moving along, and now we've got everything gloss coated and it's cured, so we are ready for decals. So we're gonna get in there, we're gonna do the exact same thing as we always do. We're gonna use some microsol, some microset, use some warm water. We're gonna apply all the decals and the stencils, and then we're gonna let that cure, overcoat it with gloss to seal those decals in, and then do a little bit of weathering. And that's just going to be honestly a real quick sludge wash with some AK panel liners. Once that is cured, we'll remove it, and then we're just going to go ahead and give it a nice semi-flat coat and then unmask everything everything, and we should be good to go. So let's get back in there, guys. We're almost done. Just a little bit left here on build day number 9. Let's finish it off. Let's see what we can do, and I'll be back and I'll show you guys our finished 110. One more time lapse, guys. Let's get it done. All right, everybody, we are done with build day number 9. The 110 is finished, and I'm actually pretty happy with how it looks. It's not the best model I've ever built. We had shape issues, we had missing parts. We also, of course, had some issues with fit, and of course, lacking some detail. But other than that, it's not too bad, and I had some fun. So let's go ahead and show you guys the finished product, and here it is. 1/72nd scale Airfix BF 110. This is the E version in the desert camo, and yeah, not too bad. A decent little build. We put on the long range drop tanks. I just thought those looked kind of interesting. We've got our bomb rack on there, though I opted out of putting any bombs. I just didn't want to fool with them. And yeah, we have everything else kind of good to go. We are missing some mass balances on the ailerons. That is unusual, but we're missing those. And we're missing the antenna down here towards the rear tail. But other than that, the exterior looks like an ME 110. Can't really complain too much. I did add a single aerial from the mast all the way down to the tail. I saw this in my references. I don't know if it's 100% correct, but I thought let's just go with it. And of course, all of our scratch building on the inside of the cockpit really did help to give this a little bit more life. So I'm happy with it. Let's zoom in real fast here and you can check out some of the details. And the first thing that I notice is these panel lines are huge. I mean, you can fight an entire World War I battle in one of these trenches. They are just way too big, and I think they're really quite out of scale. But you'll also notice that the engine nacelles, they come back too far on the wing, so they actually clip into the flap area. And that is not correct. They should stop way before that. Otherwise, though, the decals were great. They worked beautifully well with microsol and microset. No problems there. I did put on those long-range drop tanks. The wheel wells have a decent amount of detail in there. It could always use a little bit more, but for what it is right out of the box, not too bad for an area you're never really going to see. We have our circular antenna down here, but again, we are missing that closed rack antenna towards the back. I did use a longer boat tail there, and you'll notice there's no swastika here on the tail. Not really that big of a deal, but it is missing. The decals though were absolutely fantastic. They responded very well to microsol and microset, and I did add a single aerial wire from the mast to the tail, and we are good. We can call this one finished. But that is it, guys. We are all finished up with build day number 9, and this was a really fun little model to work on. Wasn't the greatest model I've ever built. There's definite fit issues, definite shape issues, but honestly, for the price, this is a great little quick, easy, fun build. If you're not too caught up on the lack of detail and all of that, this goes together beautifully well, and it looks like a 110. You can drop it on your shelf and move on to the next one, so not a big deal. I am curious though how one of these would build up a 1/48 scale, and I do have one in the stash, so maybe in 2025. But if 1/72 is your preferred scale, this isn't too bad. We're going to move on now to build day number 10. This probably was the hardest build we've done so far on 12 sprues, so I think we're looking pretty decent. We only have 3 more builds left to go. So until our next episode, guys, thank you so much for watching. Hope you guys have had a great holiday Christmas season. We're moving on now towards the end of the year and of course, New Year's. So you guys stay safe out there, take care of yourselves, and we will see you back here on build day number 10. Thanks for watching, everybody. Happy holidays, and we'll see you soon.